Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for joining today. Before we dive in, I want to ask you something. Have you ever lost a great candidate not because they weren't good, but because your hiring process was too slow? Or maybe you didn't have visibility, hiring managers kept following up, or approvals just got stuck somewhere. If this sounds familiar, type relate in the chat. Hi everyone, I'm Lavanya Somashekar, Senior Technical Smartsheet Consultant at SSPM Consultants. And today, I'm not just going to walk you through a tool, I'm going to take you through a story of how hiring typically happens and how we can completely transform it. Think of this as a journey. First, the ideal process, then the reality, and then the transformation. And more importantly, how you can do this using Smartsheet without completely overhauling your existing systems. Here's how today's session will flow. We'll start with the end-to-end recruitment lifecycle, then look at the real hiring challenges, introduce a smarter way to manage it, and then deep dive into phase one and phase two of the recruitment process. Plus, I'll walk you through how this works in a demo video, and then we have business impact, and then we'll end the session with discussion and Q&A. Now, before we talk about the transformations, let's first understand what the ideal hiring process should look like. Hiring is not just sourcing candidates, it's a full journey from identifying a need to onboarding. Let's look at the complete recruitment life cycle. We have phase one, workforce planning and requisition, where hiring need is identified, requisition is created, and approval process of the requisition is done. In phase two, that is sourcing and attraction, application and initial screening, we have candidates who apply for the job position, the data is captured, and then the initial screening is done. In phase three, we have assessment and interview, where interviews are scheduled, feedback is collected, and the selection decision is made. In phase four, we have selection and offer, where we roll out the offers, the negotiation is done, and the final offer acceptance is completed. In phase five, onboarding and integration, we have pre-onboarding activities, onboarding of the employee, and also the employee integration. Now, this sums up the whole life cycle, right? And every organization has this life cycle. But here's the real question. In this entire process, is it connected, structured, or visible in real time? Let me know in the poll which phase breaks the most for you. Type if it is phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, phase 4, and phase 5. And this is exactly where things start to fall apart. Now that we have seen the full life cycle, you might be thinking, are we covering everything today? Not today, and that's intentional. We focus on phase 1 and phase 2 because if these fail, everything else fails. The other phases we will cover in the future webinars. Now, let's take the ideal process and see what actually happens in reality. Let me introduce you to Rahul. Rahul is a hiring manager in a growing tech company. It's a Monday morning and he sends a message. The project is blocked and we need a senior developer urgently. So what happens next? The HR gets an email, the recruiter gets looped in, no structured data, candidates apply from everywhere and Excel sheets open up. And then the feedback gets lost, status is unclear, leadership asks for updates, and no one has a clear answer. What we saw earlier was a structured life cycle, but in reality, execution is completely fragmented. Quick poll. What is your biggest hiring pain point today? Is it speed, visibility, coordination, or quality? Let me know. Now, let's zoom in further. Let's see how this life cycle actually plays out in real life, but manually. Let's follow Rahul's request step by step. Rahul, the hiring manager, sends an urgent request. HR forwards it manually. Candidates apply from multiple channels. Recruiter tracks everything in spreadsheets, and feedback is scattered across emails and chats. Then the constant follow up begins. Every step introduces delays, gaps, and missed opportunities. This is what we call operational drag, where the process exists but doesn't flow. Be honest, how many of you still work like this? Type yes in the chat. Its impact. Now, let's talk about what this leads to. It leads to slow hiring cycles, important candidates get missed, lack of visibility, no data driven decisions. So, manual hiring becomes reactive, inefficient, and costly. And recruiters, they spend more time tracking than hiring. And most importantly, leadership has no real time view. That's where Smartsheet changes the game with live dashboards, role level tracking, pipeline visibility. Now that we have seen the ideal process, the reality, and its impact, the question is, how do we fix this? Then comes the solution. Now imagine Rahul's story again, but this time, instead of sending a message, he fills a structured form. And this is the turning point because from this moment, information is structured, workflows are triggered automatically, no one needs to manually coordinate. Smartsheet acts as a centralized recruitment engine which is powered by forms, sheets, workflows, reports, and dashboards. You move from emails to forms, manual to automated, and guesswork to real time insights. And from that moment, everything changes. Think of this as a comprehensive ecosystem designed to streamline every step of hiring. It brings together the centralized recruitment system, one source of truth, structured requisition management, standardized intake and approvals, automated recruiter assignments where we get instant ownership, centralized candidate pipeline where we get full visibility and real time dashboard. Leadership gets dynamic insights. You can also auto assign recruiters, trigger alerts and reminders and notifications, track SLAs, and create role based dashboards. This is not just automation. Instead of disconnected activities, you now have a connected recruitment system. Now that we have seen the full recruitment flow, let's zoom into what we are covering today. We are focusing on the first two phases. Phase 1, workflows planning and requisition. Phase 2, sourcing, application, and initial screening. If you look at the flow here, everything starts with a structured requisition and it then moves into the approval workflows, which then again helps us to recruit the recruiter assignment, and then it finally moves into candidate intake and it ends with screening process. So this is not just a process, it's a connected pipeline. In Smartsheet, this entire flow is powered by forms to capture structured requests and applications, sheets to act as the central system of record, workflows to automate approvals, alerts, and status updates, reports and dashboards to give real-time visibility across roles and candidates. So every step you see here is not manual, it's completely system-driven. Now that we understand the flow, let's look at who is involved in making this process work. This is not just a HR process. It's a collaborative workflow across multiple stakeholders. We have the department head who reviews the respective department's team lead request and give final approval. We have HR head who reviews for budget, policy, and then gives us final approval. We have HR manager who assigns the right recruiter and oversees execution. Then we have recruiter who manages the entire candidate pipeline from sourcing, screening till coordination. And then we have team lead who initiates this process by raising the requisition. And then we have applicant who submits the application through a structured form. And at last, we have leadership who tracks hiring through real-time dashboards and metrics. Well, what's important here is all these stakeholders are not working in silos. In Smartsheet, each role interacts within the same system, access is controlled through role-based permissions, updates happen in real time, and notifications and approvals are automated. So instead of chasing people, the system brings everyone together. This is what transforms hiring from a fragmented activity into a connected, accountable process. Now, let's see how all these stakeholders come together in action, starting with phase one, workforce planning and requisition. How a simple request becomes a fully approved, trackable role. Let's go back to Rahul, but now inside the system. Phase one solves the biggest problem, which is the unstructured intake. We convert, hey, we need someone urgently, into a structured, trackable, approved requisition. Let's watch what happens. So this is my Smartsheet HR series workspace, and I have created different folders for all the phases, like phase one, phase two, phase three, and so on. So let's get into phase one folder. We have the job requisition intake form sheet. Before we get into the sheet, I'll show you the embed internal job requisition form. This is how the form looks like. And on the right hand side, you can see the fields the requester updates. For example, their email ID, their department, the position title, the employment type, the level, tentative date of joining, the priority level of this resource, any remarks, and finally, at last, they upload the job description and clicks on submit. So when the manager submits the form, the standardized data capture happens behind the sheet. So this sheet captures the form entry data, and as soon as it gets captured, the workflow triggers. So the approvals will be sent to the department head and the HR head. Once the approvers are notified and they submit their approval, the HR gets notified and he assigns a recruiter upon approval for each role. So there is instant ownership. That's how the whole pipeline is created, ready to hire and all automatically done. Let me know how long does this take you today in your organization? Is it a day? Is it 3 days? Or is it more than a week? Let me know in the chat. So this is powered by Smartsheet Automation Engine, where it has conditional workflows, approval paths, template creations, notification, and so on. It's very versatile and it's completely customizable, right? From request to pipeline in just minutes. Let's break this visually. We have team lead, manager, hiring manager, whoever updates the request in your organization, right? So that person will submit the job request to the job request form which we just saw. And then the Smartsheet system captures and routes it. It then sends to the approver to review and approve the job requisition role. And once it gets approved, it will send again a notification to the HR to assign the recruiter, right? So once the HR receives this notification, he goes and updates the recruiter name and this confirms the assignment of recruiter for that particular role. And that's how we create the whole pipeline. And from this pipeline, we can begin sourcing candidates and send the updates to the real-time dashboard. Isn't it great? Let me know in the chat. So we saw end to end in minutes. Notice something important here. There are no emails, no follow-ups, and no manual tracking. Let's see what happens before and after, right? Before we used to have emails and chat requests. Now we have structured digital form. Before we had manual approval follow-ups, but now we have automated approval notifications. Before we had HR manually contacting recruiters, but now he can auto assign recruiter just on his phone. And then before we had spreadsheet tracking, and now we have live Smartsheet pipeline. So before there was very less visibility. You couldn't, figure out what is the actual status of this role, what is, who are working on this. But now you have real-time dashboard where you can get all the updates, all the insights live. So now that the role is ready, what happens when candidate starts applying? That's phase two. Let's see how the candidate flow becomes seamless. Now, this is the same workspace. Now I'm going into the phase two folder. I have the candidate pipeline sheet and the recruitment portal dashboard. First, let's get into the job application form, which is embedded to the candidate pipeline sheet. This is how the job application form looks like. The candidate will use this form to fill in their basic details, name, email ID, mobile number, the position which they're applying for, from where did you get to know about this position, are you open to relocate? Are you open to work from office or on site? Which shift would you like to be working with us? Whatever questions, what are the questions like required for the basic, candidate pipeline? We have all those jotted down here. And what is your expected salary? What is your current notice period? And at last, there is an option for the candidate to upload his resume. And once he clicks submit, again, the candidate pipeline sheet tracks and captures that information in the respective fields. So there is no manual entry. The data is stored in the master sheet, which is the candidate pipeline sheet. So this acts as a centralized pipeline. And then as soon as a candidate, submits a job application form, the recruiter gets notified instantly. And how does that happen? If you remember, in phase one, as soon as we get the approval from the HR head and the department head, HR actually gets a notification saying he needs to, you know, update or assign this to a recruiter. So each job role is assigned to a recruiter. So that's what we talked about instant ownership. Now, in candidate pipeline sheet, whenever a candidate applies for the same role, the respective recruiter who was assigned for that role will get instantly notified that, hey, there is a candidate who has applied for the job application form, like using a job application form for the role, and you need to start working on it immediately. So that's how it's all connected. So once the recruiter is notified, there is faster action, and then the screening status is updated. Now let's see the dashboard, right? So the dashboard, you can see the whole workflow is added on the left-hand side to give an insight to whoever view this dashboard about our process. And then on the right-hand side, we have few metrics about how many open requisition we have received, what are the total applications we have received, like where are the candidates in application stage, like they are rejected, etc. If you scroll down, we have job requisition portal, wherein either you can submit your job request using the job application form in browser, Or you can directly get onto this dashboard and fill the job application from here. So we are just making their life easier. Now, if you scroll down, we have few metrics. So on the left hand side, if you see, I have added in the job requests by priority level. So it says how many, like out of how many open requisition we have, how many we have high, medium, low. It just gives number and it gives great insight for the leadership. And then on the right, I have added the job requisition intake sheet. So let's see how we can use this on the dashboard. So there is a mini snippet of the whole sheet on the dashboard where you can see all the information, the screening update, the approvals, and also you can filter it out. Now, let's say I want to know how many job roles I have got for the role accountant, right? We can also check for others, but here I'm checking for accountant role. So I'll select accountant from the drop down list and I'll click on apply. Now we can see there are two accountant role requisitions in the company, and this is how interactive reports and sheets and metrics we can add on dashboard. If you scroll down, this is the applications portal. Now here I have added in the application form in case we want to like any internal references where candidates within the company wants to apply for the job, they can do that, right? So the form will be handy, form link will be handy and they can share it with anyone they want. And then we have again a, a chart where it shows what are the total applications and like what are their current stages. So we have 8 total applications where 2 is screening, 4 is 4 has got shortlisted and 2 has got rejected. So if you scroll down, we have some more metrics where on the left hand side we can see candidates by source. So this is just to know how many candidates applied from what channel. For example, you can see 3 are from LinkedIn, 2 are from internal reference, 1 each from Facebook, career page, or Instagram. And in the middle, you can see I have added number of candidates by the position title. So we have 2 candidates who have applied for accountant, 1 candidate for business analyst, 1 candidate for data scientist, so on. And on the right, we have candidates by days and stage. We have 3 candidates within 0 to 2 days, 5 candidates more than 5 days. So these are few of the metrics. We can add more based on the requirement, right? And now at the end, I have added in the candidate pipeline tracker sheet, but in a different view, that is the card view. So now in the above chart, we saw how many candidates have applied for each role. Now I can see how many candidates have applied for each role and who are they. Like I can click on the card and it shows all the information. So I can see the number and below I can see all the information related to them very quickly. I can basically do the screening on this dashboard. So this is how our dashboard looks like. And this obviously gives the real-time visibility. This also helps us do and maintain the audit trail. And yeah, that's it for the video. So this is where Smartsheet replaces fragmented tracking. And let me know in the poll, how are you tracking candidates today? Is it through Excel? Is it through ATS? Is it through email? Let me know. I want to know it all. Now, here's the journey. Let's understand the step-by-step workflow. The candidate applies via form. The data is stored automatically in the master sheet. The recruiter is notified instantly and the screening status is updated on the sheet. So everything is connected. Forms, sheets, workflows, dashboards. There is no single manual entry, no follow-ups, and no confusion. But let's understand what gets automated in phase two. What are the automation elements? Behind the scenes, the forms capture the data in the sheet. Sheet centralizes the pipeline. Workflows trigger actions. All the actions like approval, update request, everything. These are done by workflows. And then the dashboard shows the insight. Everything is connected. We have one system, one pipeline, and full visibility. Phase two eliminates manual data entry, follow up emails, or status confusion, and it replaces it with real time visibility. Let's go back to Rahul because his story didn't end with chaos. Earlier, Rahul's experience looked like this. He raised requests through emails or messages. He had no visibility into approvals. He constantly followed up with HR. Candidates were getting delayed or lost, and every time he asked for status, the answer was, "Let me check and get back to you." For Rahul, hiring felt slow, unpredictable, and frustrating. But then the organization implemented a structured recruitment system using Smartsheet. And this is where things started to change. Now, Rahul's experience looks very different. He submits a structured requisition form. He can track approval status in real time. He knows exactly who is working on his role. He can see candidate pipeline updates live, and he doesn't need to follow up. The system indeed keeps him informed. So that's amazing. This is because all requests are captured in one place. Workflows automate approvals and notification. Candidate data is centralized, and dashboards provide real time visibility. Everything Rahul needs is in one system. Outcome. So, what changed for Rahul? First up, we have faster hiring decisions. Earlier, decisions were delayed because approvals and feedbacks were shattered. Now, approvals are automated. Feedback is captured in one place, and status updates are real time. Rahul no longer waits days for updates. He can move forward with decisions much faster and with clarity. The second is complete visibility across the pipeline. Earlier, Rahul had to constantly ask what's the status of my role. But now he can see open roles, candidate stages, and progress in real time. Dashboards give him clear snapshot anytime. That's what we saw. There are no follow-ups, no dependency, just full transparency. Third, we have reduced coordination effort. Earlier, hiring required constant back and forth, emails, calls, status checks. Now, notifications are automated, tasks are assigned instantly, everyone knows their role. Rahul spends less time coordinating and more time focusing on selecting the right candidate. Fourth is better quality hiring decisions. With all data centralized, candidate profiles, screening of status, feedback, Rahul can make more informed decisions, not rushed or incomplete ones. Fifth is data driven confidence. Earlier, decisions were based on assumptions. Now, it is from real time dashboards, pipeline metrics, hiring progress insights. So, Rahul doesn't just feel things are improving, he can actually see it in the data. And that's the real transformation. Not just improving the process, but improving the experience of everyone involved in hiring. Before we wrap up, let's bring everything together in three simple key takeaways. First up, we have the manual recruitment reality. What we saw at the beginning, recruitment today is often like fragmented, manual, and lacking visibility, which leads to delays, missed candidates, and constant follow ups. Second up, we have Smartsheet automation solution. What we introduced is a connected system using Smartsheet, structured forms for intake, automated workflows for approvals and notifications, and centralized sheets for candidate tracking and real-time dashboard for visibility. Bringing everything into one place and making the process system-driven instead of manual. Now we have the measurable results. And the impact is clear. We have faster hiring cycles, reduced manual effort, better collaboration, and real time data driven decisions. Not just process improvement, but real measurable outcomes. If you remember just three things from today, it is recruitment needs structure, automation removes delays, visibility drives better decisions. So, if there is the important takeaway, when you connect your hiring process end to end, you move from chaos to clarity to control. And that's exactly what we SSPM help organizations achieve transformation quickly and at scale. We don't just help you understand this process, we help you implement it smoothly in your organizations. We work with you to map your current hiring process, build a tailored Smartsheet solution, automate workflows end to end, and ensure your team adopts it effectively. And the best part, this transformation doesn't take months. You can start seeing results in just a few weeks. So, when you bring together the right structure, the right automation, and the right implementation partner, hiring just doesn't improve, it transforms. And that's exactly what we help organizations achieve. So today we fixed how hiring starts, but hiring doesn't end at screening. What you saw today is just the foundation. Phase 1 and phase 2 brings structure, but phase 3 and phase 4 brings control. So what happens next? Interviews, decisions, offers, negotiations. This is where most organizations lose their best candidates. So in our next webinar, we are going deeper into phase 3 and 4, which is assessment, interview, and offer management, where we'll show you how to eliminate interview coordination chaos, capture structured feedback, and roll out offers faster and smarter, all within the same connected Smartsheet system. Because hiring doesn't just need to be fast, it needs to be decisive. So if today was about fixing the process, next section is about winning the best talent. Thank you for joining in. Thank you all. If you have any questions, I'm ready to take up. Do we have any questions, Ranjan?
So Lavanya, Parijat is asking, would you request you to share the slides?
Sure, Parijat, I'll connect with you and I will send you the copy. Thanks for joining in again. Any more questions? I hope you guys like the session. Just do let me know on LinkedIn, or we have our SSPM page on LinkedIn. You can let us know your feedback there as well. And hope I see you all in the next session. And thank you.